then pierces the diaphragm and supplies. The course of the right phrenic nerve, it passes on the right side we have the veins and the left side we have the arteries. See here, the right side, the phrenic nerve, it passes on the right side, or that is lateral to the subclavian vein, like in front of the subclavian vein, lateral to the superior vena cava and lateral to the right subclavian. This is right brachiocephalic vein, this left brachiocephalic vein. Both of them, they join and form the superior vena cava. So this is the right brachiocephalic vein, lateral to this and lateral to the superior vena cava. The right phrenic will run downwards, then it runs downwards on the right side of the heart, covered by the pericardium. Whereas on the left side, as we have the arteries more on the right side, this left subclavian, this is about the right. Okay, the right innominate vein is nothing but the right brachiocephalic vein. Then right superior vena cava, right atrium, and the inferior vena cava. Below we have the inferior vena cava. Then right phrenic nerve, it passes through the opening in the diaphragm through which the inferior vena cava pass, which is at the level of T10, 8th thoracic vertebral level. So the right phrenic nerve passes through that opening, inferior vena caval opening of the diaphragm. Then it supplies the diaphragm from its under surface, that is the abdominal surface. Now we'll see what is the course and what are the course and relations of the left phrenic nerve. After its formation, when it passes through in front of the left scalenus anterior, then it descends down in between. This is left common carotid and left subclavian. It runs in between the two. Then it crosses in front of the arch of aorta, the left vagus. This is the left vagus. It crosses the left vagus above the arch of aorta. Then the right phrenic and the left phrenic, they pass in front of the hilum of the lung. Here we can see that. See, at the hilum of the lung. This is right side hilum, left side. From anterior to posterior of left side, this is from anterior to posterior of right side. Here we can see this is the right phrenic. It passes in front of the hilum of the right lung, whereas here this is the left phrenic, passes in front of the hilum of the left lung. This is right side. So here we can see the relation with the superior vena cava, and this is the relation between the branches of the arch of aorta. Crosses in front of the arch of aorta, then descends down. It descends down by the side of the heart. Then it pierces the left cupola of the diaphragm. Like the diaphragm, it has two domes, right and the left. It pierces the left cupola of the diaphragm and distributes its branches through the diaphragmatic surface. Okay. That is the course and the relation of the right phrenic and the left phrenic. Then the branches of distribution of the phrenic nerve. Phrenic nerve, it gives motor supply to the diaphragm from its under surface. It pierces the diaphragm, passes through the diaphragm, and then supplies from the abdominal surface or within the muscle. And sensory innervation to the diaphragmatic pleura, pericardium, and also the subdiaphragmatic pleura through the pericardial and the pleural branches. That's a sensory innervation. Like any stretch responses will be appreciated through these branches of the phrenic nerve. Then accessory phrenic nerve, it's a branch from the nerve to the subclavius. It gets the branches from C5. It runs lateral to the phrenic nerve and it descends behind the subclavian vein. Then it joins the main phrenic nerve behind the first rib. In case if accessory phrenic nerve is present, the fibers are derived from C5 at its commencement. Then nerve to the subclavius. Then it passes through the nerve to subclavius. Then it leaves as accessory nerve to join the principal phrenic nerve in the thoracic inlet. So the fibers run like that. It is derived from the branches of C5. Then it passes through the nerve to the subclavius. The fibers will pass through the nerve to subclavius. Then it leaves. Then continues as accessory nerve and joins with the principal nerve. That's the main phrenic nerve. The phrenic nerve, you might think it supplies the diaphragm. So why it has a long course? Why it has not originated from the branches from the thoracic part of the spinal cord or something like that? Even though it supplies the phrenic nerve, even though it supplies the diaphragm, like diaphragm during development, it is present initially in the cervical region. Then it descends downwards to its original position, that is in between the thorax and the abdomen. So the diaphragm, the primitive diaphragm, it is present in the cervical region. Later it descends down to its original position. By descending down, it brings the phrenic nerve along with it. So that's why we can find the phrenic nerve in the neck, and it has a long course. So because of its long course, it is vulnerable to the injury. Then why the phrenic nerve? It supplies the abdominal surface of the diaphragm. Okay, it passes through the thorax. It should supply from the upper surface. No, it's going to supply from the inferior surface, that is abdominal surface of the diaphragm. It is because during folding, the abdominal, during folding, already have studied about the geminal disc, folding of the disc and all. Of the diaphragm, that's the adult inferior surface, like which is formed at this thing at development. It is present on the upper surface. So during folding, the upper surface it rotates downwards and it becomes the inferior surface. So during development, the surface which is above is folded and it becomes the inferior surface. So the phrenic nerve supplies this from the abdominal surface of the diaphragm. I hope you have understood this. Then the clinical aspects. The phrenic nerve injury causes paralysis of the diaphragm. If it is paralyzed, then as we have the diaphragm which is supplied separately by the right phrenic and the left phrenic. The right phrenic nerve, it mainly supplies the right dome of the diaphragm and the right crus of the diaphragm, whereas the left crus and left dome is supplied by the left phrenic nerve. Left phrenic nerve, along with the left crus, it supplies also the central tendon of the diaphragm. So once you study about the structure of the diaphragm, you will understand what are the domes and what is the crus and all. Okay. The diaphragm has two domes, right and left. That's the muscular part, and the central part is tendinous, which is a central tendon. In the central part, we have a tendon. So it has right crus and the left crus of that. Okay. The phrenic nerve may be damaged during the surgery, or accidental ligation of the phrenic nerve may occur during surgery also, and it may be compressed by the tumors in the thoracic cavity, or because of neuropathies such as in the diabetic neuropathy, the phrenic nerve may be paralyzed. In case of paralysis of the diaphragm, it produces paradoxical movements. The affected side of the diaphragm moves upwards during inspiration and downwards during expiration. Normally, during respiration, during inspiration the diaphragm shifts downwards, and during expiration the diaphragm moves upwards. But because of paralysis of the diaphragm, the affected side of the diaphragm moves upwards during inspiration and downwards during expiration. This is the same thing. Phrenic nerve may be either crushed or avulsed in case of to give rest to the lungs, such as in tuberculosis. Before the before the contemporary anti-tubercular treatment, the phrenic nerve will be crushed to create paralysis of the corresponding half of the diaphragm to be to give rest to the diseased side, diseased lung, which helps for the healing of the lung. So, but which is not done nowadays. Suppose if you are crushing the phrenic nerve, we have to look for the accessory phrenic nerve. If it is there, then we have to crush that also. Otherwise, the diaphragm will not be completely paralyzed, because the accessory phrenic nerve will be supplying the diaphragm. And if we crush only the phrenic nerve, then the diaphragm will not be completely paralyzed. So, if we crush or avulse the phrenic nerve, then we have to check for the accessory phrenic, and we have to crush that also, accessory phrenic nerve. Then the motor system, it is supplied by the autonomic nervous system. It is divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic flow is from the thoracic part of the spinal cord and the lumbar part. That is the upper two segments of the lumbar part of the spinal cord, and the T1 to T12 segments of the spinal cord. Okay, those are thoracolumbar outflow is sympathetic, whereas craniosacral, that is the cervical part of the spinal cord and the sacral part, they give parasympathetic fibers. So the parasympathetic outflow is craniosacral and sympathetic is thoracolumbar outflow. So the preganglionic fibers, neurons originating from the lateral gray horns of the spinal segments of T1 to L2, that is thoracolumbar part of the spinal cord, will give rise to preganglionic fibers. Okay, these preganglionic fibers, they relay in different parts of the sympathetic chain, the ganglion, and the postganglionic fibers, they are segmental, whereas these will give these preganglionic fibers, they terminate in different segments. These are multisegmental, whereas postganglionic fibers, they are unisegmental. They pass through a single segment of or the spinal cord, the spinal nerves. The sympathetic outflow is for the fight or flight response, whereas parasympathetic is for the rest and repose response. The sympathetic trunk, it is a ganglionated trunk. Like it appears like a string on a bead on a string appearance, like the pearl necklace. We can see the beads. These are the beads. In between that, there is a string. So the sympathetic trunk, it gives a beaded appearance because of the ganglion and a chain. Okay. The sympathetic trunk, it is present on either side of the vertebral column. It is ganglionated because we have the ganglions, elongates trunk. Then we have two communicants which are white and grey rami communicants. The sympathetic trunk, it extends from the neck to the thorax, abdomen and the pelvis. In the pelvis, the two trunks will join and form a single ganglion which is called as ganglion impar. So this is the transverse section of the spinal cord. Here we can see the ventral horn, dorsal horn and the lateral horn. This is the lateral horn. This is the ventral root of the spinal nerve. This is the dorsal root of the spinal nerve, where we have a dorsal root ganglion. The ventral and the dorsal roots, they join and form a spinal nerve, which later divides into ventral root, ventral ramus and the dorsal ramus. Okay, this is spinal nerve. On each side of the body of the vertebral column, we have a sympathetic chain with the ganglions. Sympathetic trunk, ganglionated sympathetic trunk, we can see. So from this lateral horn, we'll get the preganglionic sympathetic fibers. They pass through the ventral root and through the white ramus communicants. See, this is white ramus communicants, which is white, and this is grey ramus communicants, which is grey colored. Then the fibers from the lateral horn, they pass through the ventral root, then pass through the white ramus communicants. They relay in the ganglions, either in the same ganglion or descends downwards. Okay. We can see the relay of these preganglionic fibers at different levels. See, here it is relaying in the same ganglion. In the here it passes downwards and relay in the lower ganglions. And either it forms a collateral branches also. So the preganglionic fibers, even though the preganglionic fiber, thoracic and lumbar part of the spinal cord, where we get the lateral horn, the sympathetic preganglionic sympathetic fibers, they relay in different ganglions. And postganglionic fibers, see, here it is relaying. This is the preganglionic neuron, the fiber. It passes through the white ramus communicants, relay on the postganglionic nerve. Okay, this is the body of the postganglionic nerve. Preganglionic is before the ganglion. Okay. The cell body is present in the spinal cord. That is the lateral horn of the spinal cord. The fibers pass through the ventral root. Then through the white ramus communicants, they enter into the sympathetic, the ganglion. Okay, here they will relay. This is post neuron of the, I can better appreciate this. Okay, it will relay here in the postganglionic fibers. Then the postganglionic fibers, they pass through the postganglionic fibers, they pass through the grey rami communicants and later it passes through the ventral ramus or the dorsal ramus of the spinal cord to supply the target organ. Then part of the, if we study about the thoracic part of the spinal sympathetic trunk, we'll find 11 to 12 ganglions. Okay. Sometimes the T1 is going to fuse with the cervical ganglion. In the cervical region, we find 3 ganglions, superior, middle and inferior. Inferior cervical ganglion will fuse with the T1 to form the stellate ganglion. And below we'll get the other 11 ganglions. Okay. In the thoracic part of the sympathetic trunk, we'll get 11 or 12 ganglions. The distribution is same again, the grey rami communicants, and the branches from the thoracic sympathetic trunk, they supply the, they form the cardiac plexus and supply the heart, and also from the splanchnic nerves, which supplies the abdominal organs. The splanchnic nerves, they form a celiac plexus along the celiac trunk from the abdominal aorta. Celiac trunk is the first branch from the abdominal aorta, which supplies different organs present in the abdomen, such as the heart, duodenum, liver, and all. Okay. The celiac plexus, they form the greater and they form the splanchnic nerves, which supply the different abdominal viscera. Horner syndrome is because of injury to the stellate ganglion. Already you know what is stellate ganglion. The inferior cervical ganglion is going to join with the T1 ganglion present at T1 level and form the stellate ganglion. If that stellate ganglion is injured either because of the cervical rib or vascular lesions or CA lung of the apex, it's going to affect the stellate ganglion. Even the thyroid and esophageal anomalies or diseases or tumors, they will compress over the stellate ganglion and they present with different features such as meiosis. Meiosis is failure of dilatation of the pupil. See, this is the pupil, the black part, it is constricted. Failure to dilate because of the unopposed parasympathetic activity, and because of paralysis of the levator superioris, there is a partial ptosis. The upper lid cannot be elevated completely. Here you can see the palpebral fissure is more. Here the palpebral fissure is less. Then anhidrosis is reduced secretion from the lacrimal glands. There is a reduced tears and absence of ciliospinal reflex. That is, when we pinch the nape of the neck, the pupil cannot be, like, it will not dilate. That is ciliospinal reflex. Then the splanchnic nerves, the medial branches of the thoracic ganglion, they join and form different nerves, such as the greater splanchnic nerves, the 5th to 9th medial branches of the thoracic ganglion. There is a postganglionic fibers. They join and form the greater splanchnic nerves, which supply the form the celiac plexus, which supply the stomach, liver, and it also forms the renal plexus, the suprarenal medulla, the greater splanchnic, and the lesser splanchnic nerves are formed by the fusion of 10th and 11th branches from the 10th and 11th thoracic ganglion. They synapse in the lower part of the celiac plexus, and the lowest is formed by the T12 medial branches from the T12 thoracic ganglion. This synapse with the renal plexus. These splanchnic nerves, they supply the different organs in the abdomen. Splanchnic means related to the viscera. So, the sympathetic activity, the sympathetic nerves, they supply the skin. Either it may be vasomotor. Vasomotor is constriction of the blood vessels. So, as a constriction of the blood vessels in the skin, it increases the blood supply to the important organs such as heart, brain, kidney, and all. And pilomotor is erection of the hair follicles present on the skin. You might have experienced during the whenever you are frightened, the skin, the hair follicles present on the skin, they stand up because of contraction of the erector pili muscle. It's because of the sympathetic activity. That is pilomotor. And pseudomotor is increased secretion from the sweat glands. That is to the skin and to the abdominal organs, and the heart also it will supply. So that's the action of the sympathetic trunk, the branches from the sympathetic trunk. So this is about the nerves of the thorax relating to the phrenic nerve. Even we'll get the vagus nerve, but that we are going to study in detail along with the vagus cranial nerves in the CNS. Okay, whenever we are going to study about CNS, that time we'll study about vagus in detail. The sympathetic trunk is related with the sympathetic activity, whereas vagus nerve, it is related with parasympathetic activity. Okay, this is about the nerves of the thorax. So if you have any difficulty or doubts, you can ask. Yes? Do you have any doubt? Yes? Anybody is there? Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
No. You understood everything? No doubts? Have you got the notice for this thing? MCQ test, which is going to start from 6th. 6th is anatomy, 6, 7, 8.
No, ma'am.
Going to have the MCQ test on 6th. Have you got any notice on the website?
No, ma'am.
No?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. So this is the announcement. You'll be having MCQ test of 100 marks, which is going to start from 6th. 6th we have anatomy, 7th physiology, 7th is biochemistry and 8th is physiology of 100 marks, and the topics will be displayed, like you'll be intimated regarding that, like the topic and all. During the time you have to click on the assignments. Normally you log in and directly you join the classes. But for the this test, you have to, after login, you have to click on the assignments and you have to start. Okay. Before the test proper, you'll have a mock test or a trial of 30 questions that I'll intimate you. Okay. That will be there today or tomorrow. We have to plan tomorrow or day after tomorrow. You'll have a mock test regarding that, because you should not feel difficulty during the test. That's why we have planned to give a small trial. So all of you log in and do the trial. That I will WhatsApp. I'll give a message regarding that. Okay, for that you be prepared for MCQ test. It's very important. We are going to consider the marks of that for the internal assessment. So you be serious and read like whatever the topics are going on. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. For